Welcome to a Saturday edition of Football Scientific with me, Aaron Sauter. I'm a writer for the UFL News Hub. I cover the San Antonio Brahmins of the UFL. I'm a writer for the CFL News Hub. I cover the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I'm a writer for FootballAnalysisOne.com. I cover the Cincinnati Bengals. On Football Scientific, I also talk about the Indoor Football League, the IFL, the NAL, the National Arena League, and the ELF, the European League of Football. Most football has not really gotten started today. It's been a lot of finishing the NFL draft. I do have some notes from that, just a few key points, but most of my effort will be put into describing the draft in article form on FootballAnalysisOne.com after the draft's complete. I'll write an article about the day 3 pickups and about their overall draft grade and where I see this going from here. You can see that on FootballAnalysisOne.com. I've already went over their first round pick, Shedeur Sanders, and their second or day 2 picks, their second and third round pick. So we'll talk about that here today. And those articles have more details on FootballAnalysisOne.com. Okay, joining me today is my co-host Wolfie D. Wolfie D in the house. Wolfie D. Wolfie D. Wolfie D, how are you doing today? I'm doing great. How are you? I'm doing all right. That's good. All right. Carry on. Okay. All right. So first, let's go through some hot topics in the NFL. First, the big discussion for the last few days has been Shedeur Sanders not getting drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, the second round of the NFL draft, the third round of the NFL draft, the fourth round of the NFL draft. Finally, he was picked in the 5th round. Some stories were coming out that they feel like the NFL was colluding against quarterback Shedeur Sanders, and that's why he was not being picked. There's also stories saying that when he did interviews in the combine, he blew off a bunch of teams and gave crappy answers and didn't look at his playbook and wasn't detail-oriented. That's the excuse they're making. A lot of people say it's collusion, similar to Colin Kaepernick, because Shedeur Sanders has a lot of personality and, it's connected to Deion Sanders. He was coming into the draft a round 1 projection, but now a lot of people are denying that, saying they project him at round 3 or 4. Either way, the Cleveland Browns did pick him finally in round 5. They also picked Dillon Gabriel before him. So, they're going to have a quarterback competition in Cleveland. They have a lot of quarterbacks in Cleveland right now. Deshaun Watson may come back. You have Kenny Pickett. You have Shedeur Sanders. You got Dillon Gabriel. And I believe they have one more quarterback floating, Joe Flacco. That's 5 quarterbacks going into camp. I think they're hoping Deshaun Watson's going to tap out. But we'll see. As far as Cincinnati Bengals go, if you did not catch my short or yesterday's episode, I talked about how disappointed I was they picked Shemar Stewart in the first round. But in the second round, they did a pretty good job. They picked, in the second round, their pick was South Carolina linebacker Demetrius Knight Jr., who I felt like coming into the draft was part of the top linebacker for them to pick up. He's a good fit to be a role player alongside Oren Burks and come right in and start potentially as a Mike backer or a Will backer. Okay, some kind of inside linebacker. They also drafted Georgia guard Dylan Fairchild in round 3. He's a good. They needed guard help. They needed offensive line help, and it was a good pickup to pick Dylan Fairchild. He's another guard that I felt like was a good fit for them. There were some other guards floating around, but they got one of the top 5 guys that I had on my board for the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's good. Round 4, they picked the linebacker Barrett Carter from Clemson. He comes in. He's going to be a role player. He may be able to develop into a linebacker. He might be a special teams guy. You never know. They say he's a good pursuit guy. Could be a will linebacker. So maybe that will be the future at will linebacker. Okay, he's not quite ready to be a starter anyway. And then in round 5, the Bengals have picked offensive tackle Jalen Rivers to Miami. I also mentioned in an article, I wrote an article about the second day picks, that safety Lathan Ransom was available still, and he was in the top 10 safeties. They needed safety help. He's still available. And I also mentioned a cornerback, Zy Alexander, I believe, from LSU. And he'd be a good man-to-man cornerback they could pick up. So they have 1 pick left unless they make a trade. So right now they have 1 pick left in round 6, and we'll see how it goes. After the end of the draft, I'll be writing a couple articles just kind of processing their decisions. That'll be on FootballAnalysisOne.com. So that's NFL news. Boom. Last night in the UFL, huge upset. huge upset. The Memphis Showboats traveled to the Birmingham Stallions. Memphis was like a 11.5-point underdog in that game, but the Stallions were missing Matt Corral at quarterback, and they were going to start Case Cookus. Case Cookus was signed on to be their quarterback 3 this year. He came from Memphis. He struggled in Memphis because he did not have any protection. So the excuse was that he didn't play well because he's always getting hit. That's my excuse for him. But it turns out maybe there's more to the problem than that. Okay, so Memphis came out and they jumped on a huge lead on the Stallions. Early on it was up 11-0, then 17-3. And then in the second half, the Stallions predictably came back. They came back and tied the game up, and then they lost the game in overtime, which UFL is an interesting overtime. It's best 2 out of 3. They did a shootout with two-point conversions. And Showboats won that shootout 2-0. So they won the game 24-20. Quarterback Dresser Wynn, first Showboats getting his first start ever in the UFL. He had a pretty good day. He went 17 for 29, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. That's 58.6% completion rate. QBR 96.2. That's a good day, especially for his first start against what was first place in the USFL. Was first place USFL, not anymore, because the Michigan Panthers, unless they lose to the Battlehawks tonight, will take over that top spot. Unless they lose to the Battlehawks, then it's going to be a tie again. Running back Deneric Prince had 12 runs for 59 yards. Wide receiver D. Anderson had 4 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown for the Showboats. Wide receiver Kwame Lester II had 5 catches for 65 yards and no touchdowns. Their defense had a good game. They had 3 quarterback sacks on Case Cookus. They had 1 interception and 4 tackles for loss. Okay, Birmingham Stallions struggled with Case Cookus running their offense. Case Cookus went 15 for 33. It wasn't Memphis. It was Case Cookus because even with a better offensive line and better receivers, he still was not very good. He went 15 for 33. It's a 45.5% completion rate, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He did run the ball 6 times for 83 yards. His QBR was 65.8, which is really bad. Wide receiver Deion Kane had 5 catches for 50 yards. Wide receiver Jordan Thomas had 1 catch for 33 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Marlon Williams had 1 catch, 6 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, the Stallions just didn't show up. So, I mean, a lot of the loss was on Case Cook as being a sloppy, ineffective quarterback. But also the Stallions did not show up defensively. They had 0 sacks, 0 interceptions, 0 fumble recoveries. They had 5 tackles for loss. That's it. And they lost that game. They got upset. I'm hoping Matt Corral's out next week, too, as the Brahmins go visit the Stallions. Boom. If we can get the win tomorrow against the Roughnecks, we could beat the Stallions for the 2nd year in a row. Not in the championship game, but a regular season. And we could be climbing up the ladder. We're up to 3-3 real quick. So we'll see. We have to win that game tomorrow first, though. Tonight, there's a game at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Michigan Panthers at St. Louis Battlehawks. I predict the Michigan Panthers will win that. Their defensive line got souped up. They have a better linebacker. Guy who's a prospect for an NFL draft. So, I mean, they look the better team right now. But they're on the road in St. Louis, so you never know. Although the quarterback situation in St. Louis is garbage. So, we'll see how that goes. Okay. NAL, Omaha Beef released linebacker Cameron Hunt II. And my last news story is about the ELF, the Munich Ravens, who in their 2nd season made the wild card playoff, got a wild card spot in the playoffs. And they lost in a close game to the Paris Musketeers, but they made the playoffs. Okay, their defense was the driving factor of their success. They were 4th in the league in points allowed and 1st in total yards allowed. That's really good defense. So they're carrying on like the Baltimore Ravens, tradition for being a Raven. They're in Munich though. Offensively, they had the 2nd best scoring offense in the ELF. So they brought the offense too. So good defense, good offense. It's a solid team. That's why they made the playoffs and had a chance to move on almost. Okay, one loss is quarterback Chad Jeffries has moved on to the Rhine Fire to replace Jadrian Clark, who went down to the Nordic Storm. So the Munich Ravens have added 22-year-old quarterback Russell Talon. Okay, he played last year for the Osos Rivas team in Mexico. He led the league in passing yards, passing touchdowns, total touchdowns. And they won the Spanish championship, whatever that's worth. I'm not sure how well Spanish football, the Spanish league transfers to the ELF. I don't think it transfers well, but We'll see. If he can just be a game manager for that defense, they have a good chance to be a playoff team again. Defensively, they return French linebacker Wael Nasri. They retain him. He's known as being one of the best tacklers in the ELF. Since 2021, he's played for the Berlin Thunder and Frankfurt Galaxy. Great tackler. That always helps your defense. Okay. Also, they have brought in Cole Coleman into their secondary. He has NFL experience with the Indianapolis Colts. He played in 3 games in 2024 for the Vienna Vikings, so he has some European League experience too in the ELF. In 2024, he had several tackles, pass deflections, and he returned interceptions for a 39-yard touchdown. Head coach Kendall Ellison returns for the Ravens for a second year after making the playoffs last year. It's his 5th year in the ELF, so I mean, stability is there for the Munich Ravens. They were a playoff team last year. They had a chance to move on. The next step would be to win a playoff game and make it to the semifinals. So we'll see how that goes. Never know. Maybe someone will knock them off. Maybe that quarterback transition won't be as smooth as they think it will be. But we'll never know until that season starts, which is just in a few weeks. I believe May 17th that season starts. So things will pick up there. All right. So if you enjoyed the video, like the video, boop. If you like the channel, subscribe to the channel. We got 83 subscribers currently. We're trying to build to 100. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. Check out articles about the UFL and UFL News Hub and the CFL and CFL News Hub. The CFL draft is next Tuesday. They have a global draft at 11, and they changed the time of the regular CFL draft from 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. So it starts earlier if you're in Canada, and you can watch that on TSN. I'm going to track it on the CFL website. Most likely that'll be the only access I have. I don't have TSN. I don't have cable. Boom. If you want to read some Cincinnati Bengals draft articles, that would be on footballanalysis1.com. I'll be adding a few more tomorrow as this draft ends and I start grading the draft. I've written a few about the 1st round pick and the 2nd round and 3rd round pick. And then we're going to finish this thing off tomorrow and move forward with the Bengals heading into mini camps. So that's the next step, is heading into mini camps. So hope you have a great Saturday. Enjoy some IFL tonight, some NAL tonight, some UFL at 7 o'clock. Should be a football-rich day, so we'll see how it goes. And I'll be back tomorrow to talk about what happened in those games. Have a great day. Football Scientific portal is closed. Bye-bye.